Wi Do-Seong opened the security app on his phone, expecting to catch her breaking protocol. 11 caregivers before her had failed. Some stole prescription medications. Some filed false injury claims. One sold photos of his sons to tabloids. So when the notification flashed across his screen during the board meeting, unusual activity detected in the medical wing, his first thought was, here we go again. He tapped the camera feed. His stomach dropped. The 3 specialized wheelchairs sat empty in the middle of the medical wing. Empty. His sons weren't in them. Panic surged through his chest. Then he saw them. Seo-ryul, Do-hyun, and Yoon-young. His 3 paralyzed sons, who doctors swore would never walk, never stand, never bear weight on legs the medical reports called functionally useless, were standing at parallel bars, not sitting, not lying down, standing. Their small hands gripped the padded rails, their legs trembled with effort, and they were moving, one small step, then another, walking toward the Nigerian caregiver's outstretched arms and her voice calling them forward in a language he didn't understand. Do-Seong's phone slipped from his hand and clattered onto the conference table. Every executive in the room turned to stare as the CEO of Hansol Medical Technologies, a man who built an empire manufacturing mobility devices for people who couldn't walk, slid his chair back and walked out without a word. His back hit the hallway wall. His breath came in short gasps. And the man who had accepted impossible as final, who had built his fortune on the certainty of medical limitations, watched that certainty shatter on a screen in his own company's headquarters.
Welcome back, best friends. It's Onyx, aka K Afro Tales, and we're so back at like we live for it. Before we go further, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and if you believe good things should happen to good people, especially children who've been told they'll never walk. Hit that like button, because what happens in the next 20 minutes will show you why some miracles require more than medicine. They require someone willing to believe when everyone else has given up. And what this woman did for these boys, and what she ultimately proved, might just change how you see your own limitations.
Now, let's get into the story. 2 years ago, Wi Do-Seong lost everything that mattered. His wife, Eun-ha, died during an emergency C-section, her body unable to handle delivering triplets 10 weeks early. Doctors worked for 47 minutes trying to save her. Do-Seong held her hand until the monitor flatlined. Then nurses escorted him to the NICU, where 3 premature sons fought for their lives. Cerebral weighed 3 pounds. Do-hyun, 2 pounds 11 ounces. Yoon-gyum barely broke 2 pounds. The triplets survived those first critical weeks, but at 6 weeks, the neurologist delivered words that would define the next 2 years.
I'm afraid the scans confirm it's cerebral palsy. The damage is extensive and irreversible.
Severe cerebral palsy, catastrophic oxygen deprivation, extensive damage to motor control centers. The boys would never walk, never run, never live independently. Do-Seong sent the medical reports to 17 specialists across 3 countries. Every single one confirmed the diagnosis. One physician in Boston was blunt. Mr. Wee, false hope causes more damage than acceptance. Your son's leg muscles will atrophy. This isn't a question of trying hard enough. This is neurological reality. Do-Seong took his sons home anyway. He converted the East Wing into a medical facility, hired round-the-clock nursing staff, bought every piece of therapeutic equipment specialists recommended. He installed security cameras in every room because he couldn't trust anyone. His mother, grandmother Wee Soon-ja, visited weekly to remind him that his wife's stubbornness had killed her, and now he was throwing money at an impossible situation. His company thrived, but his home became a sterile hospital where 3 boys lived in wheelchairs and their father watched them through screens. The first caregiver lasted 3 months before stealing morphine. The second filed a fraudulent injury claim. The third sold photos to tabloids. Caregivers 4 through 8 quit within weeks, unable to handle 3 toddlers who couldn't move, couldn't play, could barely communicate except through identical cries. The 9th was caught roughly handling Yoon-gyum on camera. The 10th lasted 6 weeks. The 11th sat Do-Seong down after 3 weeks and said, "Mr. Wee, your sons are vegetables. I can't work with vegetables." So when the agency called about a 12th candidate, Do-Seong almost refused. But Mrs. Han, his head housekeeper, pointed out they were out of options. No Korean agency would send anyone else. This candidate was Nigerian, had nursing experience, and was willing to start immediately, despite the warnings about previous caregiver failures. Osinachi Nwankwo arrived on a November morning, carrying a small suitcase, a worn Bible, and quiet dignity. She was 32, with careful eyes and gentle hands. Mrs. Han gave the tour with funeral director warmth, listing rules and protocols and caregiver failures. The medical wing looked like a pediatric ICU, 3 specialized cribs with monitoring equipment, therapy mats, parallel bars never used, shelves of medications. Mrs. Han recited the schedule. Physical therapy 3 times daily following Dr. Choi's protocol exactly. Feeding schedule is posted. Medication schedule is posted. You do not deviate. Previous caregivers tried music therapy and sensory play. Both failed. These boys have severe cerebral palsy. We do not encourage false hope. Understand? Osinachi nodded. But when Mrs. Han left, she knelt beside Cerebral's crib and spoke to him like he was a person, not a diagnosis. "Hello, my child," she whispered in Igbo, like a typical Igbo mother. "Amela, anyigada imma. Be well, my child. We will be fine." Cerebral's eyes tracked to her face. She moved to Do-hyun, then Yoon-gyum, introducing herself in Igbo and Korean, her voice carrying warmth absent from this room since the boys came home. Do-Seong watched from his office, security app open. The new caregiver wasn't following protocol. She should be starting with passive range of motion exercises. Instead, she was singing. Her hands moved gently over Cerebral's legs, not rigid therapeutic manipulation, but something that looked like a caress. She pulled a small tin from her pocket, applied oil to her hands, and massaged Do-hyun's calves with slow circular motions not in any therapy manual. Do-Seong's finger hovered over the intercom. This wasn't protocol. But Do-hyun's hand, clenched in a fist since morning, slowly opened. His fingers spread, relaxed. That was purposeful muscle control. Do-hyun hadn't demonstrated purposeful control in weeks. Do-Seong didn't press the intercom. He watched.
Over the next week, Osinachi broke every rule. She brought a talking drum and played rhythms while stretching the boys' limbs. She told them stories in Igbo about warriors and dancers who overcame impossible odds. She used shea butter instead of standard massage oil. She sang hymns her grandmother taught her. "Shineke di ibube," God is glorious, the boys responded. Seoriol turned his head toward her voice. Do-hyun made eye contact. Yoon-gyum made sounds that weren't cries, but something softer. "Good morning, Dr. Choi," Osinachi said without looking up from where she was working shea butter into Yoon-gyum's legs. "I'm preparing him for therapy." "That's not in the protocol." "I know. You should be starting with passive range of motion exercises." "I will, but first, they need to know someone's here, not just hands moving their bodies. A person who sees them as children, not diagnoses." Dr. Choi opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She'd been working with these boys for 18 months. In that time, she documented minimal progress and significant regression. But Yoon-gyum, who usually cried during therapy, was quiet, watching Osinachi's face with something that might have been trust. "Finish preparing him," Dr. Choi said carefully. "Then we'll do the exercises together. Your way first, then protocol." Do-Seong felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. Not hope, Hope was dangerous, but curiosity about why his son seemed different when this woman was in the room. Grandmother Wi Sun-ja visited the following Wednesday. She found Osinachi in the garden with the boys, their wheelchairs arranged in a semicircle. The Nigerian woman held the talking drum and told them a story in Igbo, then Korean. Once there was a warrior who could not walk after a great battle. Everyone said he would never fight again, but he refused to believe them. Sun-ja's expression hardened. She watched this foreign woman fill her grandson's ears with tribal stories. She pulled out her phone, took photographs, then went inside and called her son. "Do-Seong, what is this woman doing with my grandsons?" "Dr. Choi says the boy's muscle tone has improved this week." "1 week? These are the only grandsons I have, the only ones who will carry the Y name. I will not watch you let some foreign woman experiment on them." She didn't say the rest, but both heard it. "Your wife's stubbornness killed her. Don't let this woman destroy what's left." By week 3, changes were undeniable. Seoryul smiled during Igbo songs, actual smiles, not reflexive movements. Do-hyun reached for objects. His grasps were weak but purposeful. Yoon-kyum started making sounds beyond cries. Dr. Choi documented everything with incredulous precision. She'd upgraded Do-hyun's assessment from severe impairment to moderate impairment with therapeutic potential. "I don't know why it works, but their neural pathways are responding. We're seeing development I didn't think possible." Do-Seong started attending therapy sessions, physically present, not watching through cameras. He sat in the corner and watched Osinachi work. She never treated the boys like they were broken. "Seoryul, my strong prince, today we're teaching your leg to bend. It already knows how. We're just reminding it." One evening after the boys were settled, Do-Seong found Osinachi cleaning equipment. "Why did you become a nurse?" She paused. "I had a daughter, Ada. She got malaria when she was 3. I couldn't afford the hospital bills. Her father left when she got sick, said he wouldn't marry a woman with a cursed baby. Ada died on a Tuesday afternoon. I became a nurse so I would never feel that helpless again." "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry, Mr. Wi. Be grateful. Your sons are alive. They're fighting. But you've been treating them like they're already dead. That's its own kind of loss." The words hit like a physical blow. She was right. He'd been managing his son's diagnosis instead of fathering his sons. That night he watched the surveillance feeds. Seoryul shifted in his sleep. His leg moved. Purposeful movement during sleep meant neural pathways firing without conscious effort. Do-Seong deleted the security app. His sons needed a father, not surveillance. Week 5 began with Osinachi setting up the parallel bars. Dr. Choi said they weren't ready. Osinachi disagreed. "Sometimes you have to believe before you're ready." Do-Seong was in the room now, part of the routine, learning the songs and understanding the rhythms. Osinachi positioned Seoryul first, supporting him at the bars. His legs dangled, bearing no weight. She began the talking drum rhythm. "Seoryul, my soldier, your legs remember how to stand. Listen to them." She reduced support incrementally. His legs trembled. His knees tried to lock. His face scrunched with effort. His left foot pressed flat against the floor. Weight-bearing. Actual weight-bearing on a leg doctor swore was useless. Do-Seong stopped breathing. Seoryul stood, wobbly, supported, but standing. Do-Hyun next, same process. His face showed concentration beyond his years. His right leg straightened, then his left. He gripped the bars and held his own weight. "Mr. Wi, come here. Yoon-kyum needs his father." Do-Seong hadn't held his youngest son in 6 months, but he moved forward, knelt, lifted him with shaking hands, positioned him at the bars. Osinachi guided his grip. "Talk to him. Tell him he's strong enough." "Yoon-kyum, Appa is here. You can do this." The talking drum played. Yoon-kyum pushed against his father's hands. His legs straightened. He stood. All 3 boys standing for the first time.
Their faces showed effort and triumph, and maybe joy. Do-Seong didn't realize he was crying until Osinachi's hand touched his shoulder. "You see, miracles require belief. You're believing now." He turned to look at her. Their eyes met and held. Her hand stayed on his shoulder. He didn't pull away.
The billionaire was speechless. He had first seen his son stand from the surveillance camera and was so overjoyed that he requested he saw it happen in his presence. Now it was happening before him. Oh my God, this has to be a dream. All he ever wanted for years happening in that moment because a Nigerian woman has enough faith to think outside the box. The next morning, grandmother Wi Sun-ja arrived with consultant Park, a man in an expensive suit carrying a leather folder. "Do-Seong, we need to talk." They sat in his office. Park opened the folder. Photographs spilled across the desk. Osinachi with the talking drum. Osinachi applying shea butter. Osinachi with eyes closed, hands on the boys, appearing to pray. "Mr. Wi, I've been documenting your caregiver's methods for 2 weeks at your mother's request. What I've found is deeply disturbing." "You've been spying on my house?" "I've been investigating," Sun-ja said. "These aren't therapeutic methods. These are spiritual practices, African spiritual practices, juju, voodoo. This woman has been performing rituals on your grandsons." "That's absurd. She's a nurse using music therapy." "She's performing rituals," Park cut him off. "I've had 3 experts review these. That drum, used in summoning ceremonies. That oil, herbs used in spiritual binding. Your sons improved because she bound them to something. We don't know what. We don't know the cost. I've also discovered she's working on an expired visa. Immigration would be very interested." Sun-ja leaned forward. "Your wife died bringing those boys into this world. I will not lose them to dark magic. What has she bound them to? What spiritual debt are they carrying?" The office door opened. Mrs. Han, face pale. "Sir, a reporter at the gate asking about African witchcraft allegations." Do-Seong felt the world tilt. "What?" "I contacted the media. This needs to be exposed." "You did what?" "I'm protecting this family, something you're too blind to do." Park produced more documents, immigration paperwork, visa status. "For your son's safety and your company's reputation, I strongly advise immediate termination. The board is concerned. Your shareholders are concerned." Do-Seong stared at photographs of Osinachi singing to his sons. He thought of Do-hyun reaching for him, of Seorial smiling, of Yoon-yum standing. But he saw his mother's face when she talked about his wife's death, saw the consultant's professional concern, saw the reporter outside, ready to destroy everything, saw immigration officials, saw his company's stock plummeting. "Get her out," he said quietly. "Do-san, get her out. I said get her out of my house." Mrs. Han brought Osinachi to the office. She entered, smiling. Her smile died when she saw his face. "Sit down." She sat. "You need to leave. Today. Now." "I don't understand." "Your mother has raised concerns about your methods, about the spiritual nature of what you've been doing." "Spiritual? Mr. Wi, I pray with them. I sing hymns my grandmother taught me. But African spiritual practices, rituals, things you never disclosed." "Rituals? The talking drum is a musical instrument. The shea butter is moisturizer. The songs are church hymns. What rituals?" "I've seen the photographs." "Photographs of me doing therapy? Of me caring for your sons? Of you performing voodoo?" The word landed like a slap. Osinachi stood, rigid.
Voodoo. You think I'm practicing voodoo on your sons? The sons I've treated like they were my own children? The sons who are standing because of what I taught them? You're also working on an expired visa. You knew that when you hired me. The agency disclosed my status. I can't risk it. I can't risk my son's safety. I can't risk my family's reputation. You need to leave. You can't risk what? Her voice broke, but her eyes blazed. You watched me for 5 weeks. You saw everything. You held Do-Hyun when he reached for you. You stood beside me when all 3 boys stood. You saw the truth. And now someone whispers African witchcraft and everything you witnessed doesn't matter? Osinachi, do you know what your sons call me? Do-Hyun touches his chest and points at me. That's his sign for mama, because I treated him like a mother would, because I believed in him. And you're throwing me out because your mother fears what she doesn't understand. I have to protect them. Protect them from what? From love? From belief? Get out. Osinachi, get out before I call immigration myself, before I have you deported. Get out of my house and stay away from my sons. Security entered, took her arms. She didn't resist, just looked at him with tears streaming. You're killing them again. You're choosing fear over their lives, just like you did for 2 years. I hope you can live with this choice. They escorted her out. Do-Seong stood alone, listening to his sons crying in the medical wing. He'd chosen fear over faith, safety over hope, reputation over truth. 3 days later, the boys were deteriorating. Cerebral wouldn't eat. He cried constantly. Dr. Choi tried the therapy routine, but he turned away, wouldn't engage. Do-Hyun stopped reaching. His hands clenched into fists, and all motor control progress reversed. When Dr. Choi played the talking drum, he screamed. Yoon-Yum went completely unresponsive, didn't react to anything. It was like watching him disappear inside himself. They're grieving, Dr. Choi said. I've never documented psychosomatic regression this severe in children this young. They bonded with her, and now she's gone, and their nervous systems are responding to that loss as trauma. Do-Seong reinstalled the security app, watched from screens again. A new caregiver lasted 2 days before quitting. Those boys don't want help. They want that other woman. They keep looking at the door. 1 week after Osinachi left, Do-Hyun stopped eating. They inserted a feeding tube. Dr. Choi was blunt. Whatever progress they made is gone. They're regressing past baseline. I don't know how to help them. They've given up. 2 weeks later, the medical team recommended institutional care. Do-Seong sat in the surveillance room at 3 in the morning, watching his sons not sleep, watching them stare at nothing. He'd chosen fear. He'd chosen wrong. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next shows that even when we destroy miracles, sometimes we get a second chance. Sunday morning, Do-Seong went to church for the first time since Eun-ha's funeral. Sarang Methodist in Gangnam. He sat in the back. Pastor Kim approached after the service. Mr. Wee, it's been a long time. Pastor, I need counsel. What do you do when you've seen a miracle and thrown it away because you were afraid? They sat in the empty sanctuary, and Do-Seong told him everything. Pastor Kim listened without interrupting. Your mother fears what she doesn't understand, he said finally. But Do-Seong, you weren't watching through cameras when your sons stood. You were in the room. You held Yoon-Yum. What did your eyes tell you? That she was healing them. And what did fear tell you?
that I couldn't trust what I saw. Faith isn't believing despite the absence of evidence, it's trusting what you've witnessed even when fear tells you to doubt it. Pastor Kim paused. Your sons are dying, not their bodies, their spirits. What will you choose now?
Do-Seong left with singular purpose: find Osinachi. The agency said she was no longer registered. Her phone was disconnected. Her apartment was empty. He drove to Hwaedong, where Nigerian immigrants lived, asked at stores, churches, community centers. Most wouldn't talk to him. One woman spat at his shoes. You deported one of ours? You want help finding her so you can finish destroying her? My sons need her. Your sons or you? He had no answer. 3 weeks of searching, dead ends. Then Pastor Kim called. I spoke with a minister at a Nigerian church in Daejeon. He knows her. He'll contact her, but she might not want to see you. I understand, but I have to try. She was working night shift at a fish processing plant in Daejeon. Do-Seong waited outside until 6 in the morning. She walked out wearing a hairnet and rubber gloves, saw him, and stopped. How did you find me? It took 3 weeks. Please, I need to talk. No. She walked past. He followed. My sons are dying. They've stopped eating, stopped responding. The doctors say they're giving up. Then get them proper Korean therapy from proper Korean doctors. Isn't that what your mother wanted? I was wrong. She stopped, turned. You were wrong. Do you know what happened after you threw me out? Immigration detained me for 4 days. 4 days in a cell because someone reported I was performing witchcraft on children. Do you understand what that feels like? I'm sorry. Sorry? I lost my daughter because I couldn't afford to save her. I couldn't save my own child, but I saved your sons. I gave them movement and hope and futures, and you called it voodoo, called my grandmother's hymns witchcraft. I was afraid. Of what? Of me, or of what people would think? Of hoping, of believing my sons could be whole. Because if I believed that, and it was taken away again, I'd break, like I broke when Unha died. So when my mother gave me an excuse to stop hoping, I took it. I'm a coward. I chose fear over my sons' lives. I chose reputation over their futures. I chose wrong. Why should I believe you won't do it again? He pulled out his phone, showed her news clips, him on camera. The allegations against Miss Nwankwo were false and motivated by prejudice. She used no witchcraft. She used love and belief. I publicly apologize for my cowardice. Another clip, his mother. I made a mistake. I let fear blind me. I apologize to Miss Nwankwo. Another, Consultant Park. I was pressured to manufacture evidence. There was never any witchcraft. I apologize. I destroyed them, Do-Seong said. I went on national television and destroyed the people who drove you away. My company stock dropped 12%. 3 board members called for my resignation. I don't care anymore. I care that my sons are dying without you. She stared at him. I won't come back for you, Mr. Wee. I know. But I'll come back for Cerebral, for Do-Hyun, for Yoon-Yom. That's all I'm asking. They drove back to Seoul in silence. When they arrived, Osinachi walked directly to the medical wing. The boys were in their cribs. Do-Hyun had the feeding tube. Cerebral stared at nothing. Yoon-Yom looked more dead than alive. She knelt beside Cerebral, began singing Chineke di Ibube, her voice soft and familiar. Cerebral's eyes opened, focused, found her face. He made a sound, small and broken. She moved to Do-Hyun. Hello, Nuame. I'm home. His fist unclenched. His hand reached toward her voice, found her finger, gripped. Yoon-Yom turned his head when she approached, the first movement he'd made in a week. Over the next 2 days, the boys transformed.
Eating resumed. Sounds resumed. Small victories rebuilt as if healing had been waiting for her return. Do-Seong watched from the room, watched his sons come back to life. On the third day, she set up the parallel bars. Dr. Choi said they weren't ready. Osinachi said they were. They just needed to know she wasn't leaving. She positioned Cerebral. The talking drum played. His legs trembled, found strength, straightened. He stood. Do-Hyun next. He gripped the bars and held his weight. Yoon-Yum looked at his father. Wouldn't attempt until Do-Seong was close. Do-Seong knelt beside him. Yoon-Yum, Appa is here. Appa isn't leaving, I promise. Osinachi reduced support. Yoon-Yum's legs straightened. He stood. Now they're going to walk, Osinachi said quietly. But they need to know we're both here. They need family, Mr. Wee, not staff. Family. Do-Seong looked at her. Both of us? I can't be their therapist and their mother figure if I'm just an employee who can be fired when fear comes. If I'm staying, I need to know you want me to stay. Not a staff, as... He didn't let her finish. Stood, moved to her, close enough to see fear and hope in her eyes. As the woman who saved my sons, as the woman who taught me to hope, as more than a caregiver. Osinachi, stay, not for them, for us. She didn't answer with words, just turned back to the boys. Watch. Cerebral took a step, wobbly, supported by the bars, but a step. Do-Hyun followed, 1 step, 2. Yoon-Yum gripped the bars and moved his right leg forward, then his left. All 3 boys walking, actually walking in a way every doctor said was neurologically impossible. Do-Seong reached for Osinachi's hand. She let him take it. They're walking, he whispered. They always could. They just needed someone to believe it.
6 months later, 3 boys ran through the garden of the Wee estate. Their gait was unsteady, but they were running, chasing each other, laughing. Osinachi watched from a bench. Do-Seong sat beside her, his hand finding hers automatically. Dr. Choi wants to publish a case study about neuroplasticity and early intervention. She wants to use the boys as examples. And I said only if your methods are documented accurately, not as therapy, as what they really were, love. Grandmother Wee Sanja approached slowly, humbled. She'd been learning the Igbo songs, trying to rebuild trust. She sat beside them. Thank you for not giving up on them, for not giving up on my son. Osinachi nodded. Family isn't about blood, Halmioni. It's about who chooses to stay. Yoon-Kyom ran to them, crashed into Do-Seong's legs, laughing. His father lifted him, held him close. Appa, Yoon-Kyom said. Clear, definite, his first word. Do-Seong looked at Osinachi. He called me Appa. I know. Miracles don't stop. They multiply. The house that was silent for 2 years, filled with the sound of children playing, of hope restored, of a family that chose belief over fear. Wi Do-Seong spent 2 years watching his sons through screens, waiting for them to become something doctors said was impossible. Then Osinachi walked through his door with nothing but faith, and she didn't see broken boys. She saw warriors who'd forgotten their strength. Sometimes the miracle isn't in the healing. It's in the person who refuses to accept that healing is impossible. Thank you for watching till the end. You're the real MVP.
And before you go, do yourself a favor and watch my other stories on my channel. You won't regret it. See you in the next one. Thank you for watching.